Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day to start things off. Although most of the cryptocurrency market has remained calm in the past 24 hours, Bitcoin has registered a slight increase after gains on Wall Street. Bitcoin has charted minor gains in the past 24 hours following Wall Street. Most large cap altcoins have remained calm, with Ethereum hovering around $340 and XRP trading roughly around 25 cents, the same as yesterday. The primary cryptocurrency headed south yesterday and dipped to 10,525 US dollars. Although Bitcoin started recovering rather rapidly, it dropped once more. However, Bitcoin bulls interfered and the asset has begun slowly increasing in value since then. After the dip, Binance or Bitcoin gained traction and registered a daily high on Binance of 10,680 US dollars. The price of Bitcoin is one of the very few coins that's rising right now. There are many other random coins, which we'll see in a little bit, that are also ticking up slowly in price. It's anywhere between a 1 to 3% rise. For some reason, many of the other top 10 coins, at least at the moment, were not rising. Bitcoin looked like it tried to rise somewhere over the evening, and the other Bitcoin clones tried to do the exact same, but they did not maintain momentum. So this is where we currently are right now. The interesting part for me is that over the last 2 to 3 weeks, we have been trending, I'll say sideways, like sideways, up and down ways. There's a lot of news. There are a lot of articles floating around right now that apparently this is all quite bullish, and we are on the verge of some type of a breakout. Things are going to be extremely, wonderfully, absolutely, amazingly fantastic in the next couple of days. And I say days because these articles are far too close together. For those of you not looking at the screen, this one says Bitcoin consolidation continues, but a breakout is imminent. This one says Bitcoin forms rare bullish crossover not seen since 2014. Here's why analysts are preparing for a big move. There was a lot of news like this. There were many articles proclaiming that the cryptocurrency market is preparing for some type of major movement upward. And it's because I think it has to do with Bitcoin remaining above 10,000. It has to do with the network activity. It has to do with the fact that we haven't dropped as massively as other markets or as far as we were expected to have fallen because of recent world events, and therefore bullish. This one says new Bitcoin addresses shoot off the charts despite price drop. Bitcoin's price action has been tepid at best over the past few weeks due to a confluence of fundamental trends. It's basically everything that's been happening in the news the last month. The cryptocurrency is down a handful of percent in the past week and down just shy of 20% from its summer highs of 12,500 US dollars. Despite this clear loss of bullish momentum in the markets, the fundamentals of the Bitcoin network are seemingly stronger than ever. We apparently have a massive spike in the amount of new addresses on the Bitcoin network, chain, whatever word you kind of want to use it. There are tons of new addresses. Apparently, over the course of a day, we roughly see between 5,000 to 10,000 new addresses. Apparently, we've been seeing the creation of 20,000 new addresses, and people are trying to figure out if this is simply because there are tons of new people entering the market. Is it because of the, the BitMEX situation, where people were taking off their Bitcoin from the cryptocurrency exchange, and therefore they were then throwing it onto brand new addresses that they were creating as they decided to custody the cryptocurrency themselves. The point is that apparently the fundamentals are incredibly strong. Another point that this person, this analyst right here, who you see in front of you, was saying is, as he mentioned, that the uptick in addresses likely had to do with China promoting Bitcoin, Ethereum, and DeFi in a TV segment broadcast to literally dozens of millions of people. I'm not sure what's wrong with that country, but if you've been here for longer than a year, you've seen the seesaw going back and forth. 1 week they hate it, 1 week they love it, 1 week they're going to ban it, 1 week they released about 5 PDFs. The next week, it's terrible, we can't have it within our borders. The next week, their main office something releases a list of the top 50 cryptocurrencies. It keeps happening back and forth, so I assume this is a we love you kind of week. For those of you who don't know, all the news that comes from within their borders is controlled by them, by the government. So one has to assume that something that was created on TV was given the thumbs up because it wouldn't have been able to air otherwise. And it was pretty, I mean, think of the idea of a government, nonetheless one that is an overseer, nice word, of a billion people promoting Bitcoin, Ether, and DeFi on TV to millions of people. It's just a little insane. So, but then this also gets us into the situation. No. I was going to say, it's kind of interesting that prices didn't spike over there as well on their cryptocurrency exchanges, but cryptocurrency exchanges aren't allowed over there. It's only over-the-counter trading. So it's people who have these crypto in cold storage and it never touches an exchange. I think some people confuse over-the-counter with blockchain. The transactions are still happening on the blockchain. There isn't a separate blockchain where these things are happening over-the-counter. I tried to explain that to someone in the comment section a couple of days ago. They're still happening on Bitcoin's blockchain, just they're not on a cryptocurrency exchange. Imagine I'm trading stocks to you. Imagine us trading stocks on a stock market. We can see the numbers as the stocks have been traded through the actual network. Now imagine 30 years ago when stocks were actual pieces of paper. Imagine I had 100 stock and I simply handed them to you and gave them to you. You are now the owner of that stock. It never registered on a stock exchange, but you are now the owner of said stock. That's how over-the-counter works. So in China, they're only allowed to buy over-the-counter, which doesn't hit a cryptocurrency exchange, which would then also make sense as to why there were probably tons of new Bitcoin addresses and why the price didn't move. If millions of people allegedly have been buying Bitcoin, it wouldn't have registered on our side either way. It's just them accumulating. And anyway, the point is, yes, there was a lot of bullish news, a lot of the price is going to go here news, Bitcoin gearing up for something news. It's not that I'm not optimistic. It more has to do with the fact that I just want to see it happen and see where we go from there. And I'm looking deep into the future. About 3 weeks from now, if we do end up hitting a $12,000, $13,000 Bitcoin, just wait for the people who are going to start coming forward and say that Bitcoin is overbought, Bitcoin is too high, and Bitcoin has to fall back down. These people are insane. I don't know what other word to really use for them, but I've been dealing with them for a couple of years, and every single time that Bitcoin goes up by 1,000, they rush and panic to Twitter and say, oh gosh, the price is far too high, it has to drop. You'll be fine, the price doesn't have to drop. The point is, anyway, that's all the price news and the bullish, optimistic address news. And without further ado, let's move on. In one of my favorite news stories, but I know that it'll only resonate with very few people. According to the Federal Reserve Chairman, Jerome Powell, the road to economic recovery after 19 is going to be difficult. During his speech at the National Association for Business Economics annual meeting, Powell highlighted that the federal budget was essentially a disaster. Like, he actually said this, but stressed that now is not the time to give priority to those concerns. I feel like it's almost exactly the time to give concern to those issues. The Fed's chairman, Jerome Powell, doesn't seem enthusiastic about the American economy after the central bank funneled $9 trillion into the hands of private trading houses. They pushed trillions of dollars into the market to keep the stock market up to make it seem as though things were normal. Powell discussed his outlook at the annual National Association for Business Economics meeting and talked about 19 quite a bit. According to Powell, a second 19, you know what I'm talking about, could more significantly limit economic activity. Not to mention the tragic effects. Can't read that part. Can't read that part either. What I can read is he said the U.S. federal budget is on an unsustainable path and has been for quite some time. Wow. He said, but this is not the time to give priority to those concerns. The central bank's chairman added, for the most part, Powell said that the risks of not adding more stimulus injections into the economy would be far greater. He said, by contrast, the risks of overdoing it seem for now to be smaller. They have mentioned before that they are going to continue funneling money into the market until at least, I believe, 2023 or 2024 was the time frame that we were given. That is absolutely insane. I mean, the fact that he came forward and announced that everything within the U.S. is on an unsustainable path is just, I guess, maybe just the icing on the cake. Because we've been discussing this for a very long time. We know what's been going on. They also know what's been going on. But to be able to actually say these things out loud is, I want to use the word significant, but it's something much larger than that. It is quite clear from the news that we've been getting that many analysts, many people are waiting for a stock market crash, saying that everything that's been going on has not been sustainable in the least. And this is before we even get into any discussion about debt. That's been happening not even around the world, just within the US. The personal debt, the consumer debt, the student loan debt, the credit card debt, the national debt is all completely out of control. And none of these things have been, this debt is never going to be paid off. And a lot of people are assuming that many other places are going to hold out their hand very soon and say, where's my money? Kind of the nicest way of putting that. And it's so as it stands right now, it's really a shame because when we do get news like this, it never really makes it anywhere. Like no one ever really, not that people don't listen. Like imagine if everyone took into account the severity of the head of the people who are printing the money that they're pushing into the market to make it seem like things are okay. Took that information and really tried to understand what Bitcoin and decentralization was and said, okay, the US dollar is clearly in trouble. Let's go on a different path and make sure that economically we are going to provide ourselves with stability for the future. But it never happens that way. Like how many times do we need not even this guy, but other banks to come forward and be like, yeah, there's a problem. Hey, you guys have Bitcoin? You want to store it with us? Because that's also completely insane as well. Like once again, Bitcoin has been around for 10 and a half, 11 years. The idea that all banks are now actively trying to, in their own way, in their own borders, to get into the cryptocurrency space is massive because this means that they understand that the old system is crumbling. The same exact thing with the guy from Ripple yesterday. He was like, in 20 years, we're not going to be using Swift. Anyway, yeah. I like when, I don't want to use the word higher ups, but I like when people in charge kind of basically say that they are completely knee deep in the mud, but it's not mud because it stinks. But it never really goes anywhere. Like people don't take news like this to heart. I mean, anyway, let's move on. Here's one of my favorite ones, and it's making me scratch my head quite a bit. Block 21, an artwork and accompanying non-fungible token digital portrait of Bitcoin inventor Satoshi Nakamoto sold for $131,000 US at Christie's. For those of you who don't know what Christie's is one of the big three. They're an auction house, and you must have heard of Christie's. They sell any type of big artwork that ends up selling. They are at the moment the largest auction house, and like they sold paintings for $250 million, so you've definitely heard of them before. Fabricated by an artist named Ben Gentili and attributed to the Robert Alice Project, the work is one of a series of 40 total objects, collectively titled Portraits of a Mind. Each of these panels, imposing circular structures with their centers removed, displays a section of Bitcoin's original code. Some 322,000 digits were individually inscribed on each panel. This particular panel was selected for public auction as a reference to the eventual maximum supply of 21 million Bitcoin. So there's a lot to unfold here, and I'll try my best to do it in logical segments because my brain is shooting in different directions right now. The idea of digital art is not something that is brand new, but it's still something incredibly recent that we're all trying to wrap our heads around. We were talking about this about 2 months ago as well. There was another article for a website where people sell digital art. And many of them were selling for 5 Ether, 18 Ether, what have you. The idea has been for some time that digital artwork is kind of going to be the new forefront in all of this. Being able to buy a painting and say, this is my painting, and then the next day someone takes it and you go, wait, where's my painting, is a very big risk, or it gets destroyed or it gets cut or whatever the actual case might be. But having a digital artwork, or an artwork that is represented in some sort of digital form, and being able to say, nope, that is mine, it's on the blockchain, we recorded it on this date, and therefore yada yada yada, is also a very big thing. A lot of these pieces have been fetching rather large amounts. Here's the actual artwork right here. It's apparently 40 panels. I know many people will look at this and go, well, I could do that. The point is, you didn't. That's one of the very big things in the art market, is tons of people see art and they go, well, I can make the same exact thing. Well, then go back in time and make it before someone else. It's actually interesting in that it is basically, this is Bitcoin's code through all of these things. I find it quite cool, but I also collect art, so that's another topic. Yeah, the point is that, oh, that makes sense. It says other works in the series are owned by Changpeng Zhao, because why wouldn't they be at this point? I think we're going to see the market for digital art and digital land really take off in the coming years. I think it's still relatively new to a lot of people. I don't think it's going to catch on immediately right now for people who really aren't in the know. But for reference, I'll put it to you this way, and then we'll move on. You've all heard of Banksy. Yes, Banksy. It's now the year 2020. I sent this screenshot in this article to a bunch of my friends no more than 2 weeks ago. There was an artwork. You probably know this. It's the picture of the little girl holding the balloon, and the balloon is like floating away. You can get a print of that. Like, there was, a printed piece of paper that Banksy made many years ago. I think it was 2002, 3, or 4. I don't remember I think it was 2004. You could have bought that for around 75 pounds, roughly around 150 US dollars. There was a woman who bought it many moons ago in 2014. She heard in 2018 or 19 that it might have some value, and she went to Christie's, the same exact auction house, and we're like, hey, I got this years ago. Is it kind of worth something? And they were like, yeah, maybe it might be worth something. And they put it up for auction, I think at around 10,000 pounds or something like that. So keeping in mind, she got it for 75 pounds, and they put it up for auction. I think the estimate was between 10 and 20,000 pounds. It sold for like more than $500,000. And that was over the course of a 16-year period. She put in 150 and made $500,000. I think the same exact thing is going to happen with the digital art space. It's just a matter of getting in early and figuring out which pieces are going to be meaningful. But anyway, let's move on, because this is an entirely different discussion. But the point is, yes, digital things are going to take off. I am very excited at some point to actually own digital land. It sounds insane, and I think if I had heard myself 15, 20 years ago, I would have had myself committed, because it just doesn't make any sense, like the idea of owning digital land. But anyway, I think the future is going to be incredibly digital. I hope that everyone is prepared, and without further ado, let's move on. Also, I guess in tying loosely into this digital news, CoinCheck, one of the largest cryptocurrency exchanges in Japan, is expanding its push into non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, with a new partnership with the developer of CryptoKitties. According to an announcement from yesterday or day before, CoinCheck has partnered with Dapper Labs, which developed CryptoKitties that launched on Ethereum. CoinCheck said the new partnership will bring non-fungible tokens to a mainstream Japanese audience by providing exposure to millions of its users. CoinCheck plans to integrate the CryptoKitties app into the upcoming non-fungible tokens marketplace. The exchange is also considering implementing the Dapper Labs founded Flow blockchain, which is expected to launch by the end of 2020. This is exactly what we were just talking about over here. It has to do with non-fungible token collectible. So the same exact thing with the piece of artwork. There's also non-fungible. You are able to tell on the blockchain explicitly that this coin is very different from the other coins that were sold before on the blockchain. Also funny that this is the second day or third day in a row that we're getting news about Japan launching something like this, or things happening like this within Japan. I think Japan is probably one of the best markets for something like this to launch, and I think if it ends up taking off, that's when other countries will then mimic them and try and do the exact same thing. People like collectibles in general, and I think digital... what was the thing that we read about? It was a while ago. The reason why cryptocurrencies took off in many different parts of Asia before it took off, extremely in the States and within Europe. It had to do with like they are more used to a digital, not a digital mindset. Anyway, the point is, it had to do with how they kind of bypassed credit cards and SWIFT and all these other things in many different parts of Asia, and simply went for a more digital infrastructure from the very beginning since the mid 2000s. The point being, I think this is all going to take off in a very big way, but it just has to be marketed perfectly. Like, that is kind of the really big thing. And I am slightly fearful because I have an assumption that the people who are going to be able to market this perfectly are the people from Amazon and or Google and or Facebook, who will know exactly what to do, and they also have the money to be able to push these things out there. Anyway, apparently CryptoKitties is going to go mainstream in Japan. And yeah, did anyone ever use CryptoKitties? I remember like when it came out, I think I got in generation 19, because every time two cats make a baby, it becomes the next generation. And I think there were people who were bragging that they had like generation 1 and generation 2, like the very, very first ones. And I think the one I saw, I think I tried to buy like a generation 19 or something like that, but MetaMask was messing up, so I was like, ugh. So I assume they're on generation like 3000 or something like that right now, and I could have had a generation 19 and 27 and all that other stuff kind of cat. Anyway, why am I talking about this? Let's move on. Also, in very popular news, Google Cloud is not getting into EOS for the tokens. They said Google Cloud is not getting into crypto mining. This is really an infrastructure play for us. This was said by someone from Google Cloud. On Tuesday, Block One, the company that made EOS, announced that Google Cloud had begun preparations to list itself as a candidate to serve as a block producer, one of the 21 nodes chosen by the EOS community to serve effectively as a miner or a creator or a validator on the network. However, allows for faster transactions, yada, 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 who cares? In Tuesday's release, they confirmed Google Cloud's intentions to declare its candidacy, adding, "We are committed to ensuring that the information on public blockchains are secure and secure." The point is, a lot of people apparently were in a fluff hubbub. They were a little upset because the idea is, if you are a block producer, if you are validating blocks on the network, you are eligible to be able to receive EOS, the token, as a reward for doing so. And people were like, wait, Google's already rich. Why would Google want to be a block producer and start making EOS for themselves? So the people from Google had to come forward and say, no, we are not going to take EOS rewards as a block producer. I assume if they are automatically allocated to them, maybe they will send them somewhere else. Maybe they will give them to the public. Maybe they will donate them. I have no idea, but apparently people like to start trouble. People just are never content with being okay. There always has to be some type of a drama somewhere. So apparently people were very angry yesterday on the social medias and went fuming and were saying that Google was greedy. How dare they take some of the money from the block producers? And now Google came forward and said, no, we're not going to take any rewards from EOS as a block producer. And without further ado, let's move on, because the cryptocurrency space is ridiculous. Why can't people just pay attention to themselves? I feel like we'd all have much better lives if people didn't lose their minds over very insignificant things that don't even involve them. Next up, in super popular news, and I couldn't really figure out why, Unocoin, one of India's oldest cryptocurrency exchanges, has raised $3.5 million in Series A funding. This was said by the CEO, and he told The Block. The round was led by Tim Draper's Draper Associates, with participation from XBTO Ventures, 2020 Ventures, and others. Vishwanath said the round is still ongoing and Unocoin is looking to raise an additional 1.5 million in the coming months. The fresh capital has brought Unocoin's valuation to $20 million. He added that it would be utilized for customer acquisition and growing Unocoin's team. But as Unocoin is already a revenue-generating company, the funding can be seen as more of a kind of insurance. He said, as we have money in the bank, it'll help us grow faster with confidence when there is more demand. Very popular news. This was all over the place. I don't know if it's because Tim Draper's name was in it, and Tim Draper is one of the people who we keep hearing along with Mike Novogratz as one of the early investors in the cryptocurrency space, and maybe because they were so early in the cryptocurrency space that people assume that they have more precedence than other people in the space. Not exactly sure why. The point is, a cryptocurrency exchange got 3.5 million in funding and people lost their mind. We still don't have regulatory clarifications in India either. Like, we have zero. They've also been very seesawy, swingy, back and forth, pendulumy, saying one day that it's fine, it's legal, the other day saying, hey, get prepared for a ban, and the next day saying, what ban? We don't know what you're talking about. The next day they throw pieces of paper at people that say, hey, we're going to be going through your cryptocurrency exchanges because you must be doing something wrong. So no one knows exactly what's going on there. I couldn't figure out the exact significance of this. I know that 3.5 million, yes, is a quite a large number. However, we've seen other exchanges and other people doing ICOs making 50 million and 750 million. So I get it. Like, I get why the number is significant. I got it. But Tim Draper, that maybe must have been the news because he threw some more money into something crypto-y. He's always in the news. He's always throwing money at cryptocurrency projects because he, got to be the first one. Anyway, yeah, let's move on. And to finish things off in something that's also significant but won't make news anywhere, the U.S. Office of the Comptroller of the Currency is about to take another step in helping local banks to deal with the crypto world. Brian Brooks, acting head of the OCC, confirmed that they hope to clarify whether cryptocurrencies, in particular privacy tokens such as Monero and Zcash, are permissible assets for banks to hold, trade, or lend. However, speaking at the Wall Street Journal, he did not specify any further when this clarification might be announced. The OCC declined to comment to this website. Meanwhile, according to the report, the office is looking to determine whether banks can underlie blockchain as payment networks. Don't even have to read much more. We are headed for two situations, and both slam into a wall. We are headed in the direction of banks being allowed to hold coins that have private transactions. The wall that they're going to slam into, or that in general, collectively, will be slammed into, is that if banks are allowed to hold these coins, it gives them regulatory legitimacy. And it allows banks to be able to figure out or to say, yes, you can use these coins if you want. However, they can only be used within our networks and nothing else. This causes a very big problem because these coins then become legal, but illegal to use if you are doing anything else except for using them within their networks, which means that there's going to be some other type of a thing, some type of a tracing thing, where it's kind of the same exact way that we've seen the Gemini twins, and I think also Coinbase have also allowed, I think it was Monero, onto their platforms. And said, sure, yeah, you can deposit it, you can withdraw it, but it has to be through the actual, where you let people know, like you can see the actual address that it's going to and where it's coming from. Otherwise, it won't be accepted into their systems. So that's one thing. The other side is basically a complete and utter ban, where governments and banks simply say, no, we can't figure out how to control this. People don't want to deposit them with us. People are still using these things in air quotes illicit activities, and therefore, as we cannot control these things, they have to be banned. No one can use them. The ban ends up taking place. People still use them, and then these become the new tokens that these become the new Voldemort. You cannot speak of them. We all know that they're being used and are out there, but no one is ever supposed to use them and or talk about them. So either way, its regulations are going to try their best to hamper the usage of these coins. And I think a large part of the reason why we still have these conversations is because Chainalysis and many other companies don't or simply aren't able at the moment to follow all of the transactions on these blockchains. And I think this is why we're having the discussion of banks being able to use them, or regulators being like, okay, they're not that bad, because if you allow them, I can't remember the exact term of it. It's not unobfuscated. I don't think that word even exists. It's that when you are using transactions on many of these blockchains, you can allow people to see your transactions or not allow them to see where your transactions are going or who's getting them, et cetera, et cetera. But if you allow them and the banks can control them and hold them and own them, well, that's totally fine, because they can then start to see or open up a network where they say, we're only allowing these. Anything else is completely illegal. But then you slam into that wall where no one's really going to use them anymore, or like it's just, it hampers the innovation of them. And the other side is, once again, the complete ban, where people still continue to use them, but then people are then like hunted down and tracked as saying, you are using something illegal that's digital, and therefore you cannot do so. And then the major elephant in the room that has a gigantic B on it is this all... I was going to say, is this all going to happen? But we all know that this is going to happen once Bitcoin also has private transactions. We're going to get these discussions as well. Are banks legally then able to still hold Bitcoin? Is anyone able to hold Bitcoin? You can only transact in Bitcoin if you allow other people to see your transactions. And when we get to the point where you know what I'm talking about, and we're going to get there within the next 10 years, that's one of the biggest question marks in my head right now, is because once we have multiple layers of private transactions, once we have a successful implementation of Mimblewimble on Litecoin, and then that starts to get built on top of Bitcoin, and then we have ZK snarks, and sharding has also been proposed for Bitcoin as well as Taproot and many other functions. Let's say in 10 years we have 15 different privacy protocol, private transaction things on top of Bitcoin. But I also assume in 4 years, once we get to my assumption has been for a while that once we get to a $50,000 to a $100,000 Bitcoin, that's like the real cutoff point, because after that is sky's the limit. Once we get to those numbers, Bitcoin adoption will be uncontrollable. People will completely lose their minds to try and get as much Bitcoin as possible. So I think the future is going to be a bit difficult in many different ways. And I think from there, we'll just move on for the sake of me not telling you exactly what I think is going to take place. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters: Professor Wally from Gunbot University, Tolek Banan, Auspicious Agile and Blockchain Decentralized Peter, Navarro Williams, David James, Attila the Han, Yasha Harari, Oscar Maldonado, Utopia 569, Moonman High, XRP, Joshua Vineyard, Martin Storio, Nostromo, John Sarson, the Animal Reader, A Bibliophobia, Todd Mullis, Adam Graysick, Moher Maroni, Master Ventures in Thailand, Jared Schneider, Wise Knight, Owl 242 to the World, Bankroll Network, Crypto Artist, Coldy 3D, Damian Setsuna, Richie Rich III, Vlad the Impaler, Paxis, Nick Mangel, Vorty, Anthony Charles, Jim Garner, Jamie Fox, Minting Coins, Miller Hitch Test Every Day, and Kyle Skips Leg Day, Yes to Crypto, Bodie McBoatface, Anytime Fitness, Mouse Corner Staff, Arfmedic17, Bake Me a Cake, Tigger Macho Nisa, On Crypto with Lionel, Crayla Michelle, URL, and Bolero Bastos. All of you, thank you very much for your support, your continued support, especially for a lot of you. A lot of you have been my Patreons for a very, very long time. I do thank you for that. Thank you to everyone who is a member of the channel, and thank you to everyone who is a supporter of all of this in their own way. At the moment, Bitcoin's price is at $10,591 US. The fluctuations are very strong in this one. They're completely all over the place. Where was it? Yeah, the two clones of Bitcoin saw that the market was moving up, and they pushed up the furthest. Tether's also up. Litecoin's trying to move up. Everything is very indecisive at the moment. I think EOS has also fallen down as well. There was way too much pressure from the market going down. They all followed this same exact little drop pattern right here. Where was the other? Yeah, apparently Wrapped Bitcoin is now also in the top 25 coins, which is insane because it only has $85 million worth of volume. I assume, I have no assumptions for this. Like, I don't even know what to really say at the moment. But yeah, it would be very interesting if wrapped Bitcoin continues to become a thing, because the circulating supply for wrapped Bitcoin is only 94,000 coins. If we end up getting to the same exact, imagine a situation where wrapped Bitcoin really does take off and it ends up within like the top 10 because it's the mimicked valuation of locked up Bitcoin inside of Ether, but more people are using wrapped Bitcoin, and therefore anyway, I would think that would be quite fascinating, at least for me. Yeah, the market's all over the place. No one knows where anything is kind of going right now. Uniswap has been pumped because I think it fell out of the top 50, and you can't have that because it's a hype coin. Yearn Finance is collapsing. Yesterday it was at 17,000. It is now at 12,000. I assume we're going to see a falling to between 5,000 to 7,000 US dollars for Yearn Finance, and then yeah, that's the market right now. I do hope that you all enjoyed. I hope that you all are having all having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for your support. Thank you for watching and listening. Thank you for just sticking around. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.